Listen, I promise you I did not put this shirt on purpose. This was an absolute coincidence that I'm recording this video today. What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel and to another video, and today I am ranking Inosuke ships on a tier list. This is part 3 of my ongoing series of talking about ships for all of my favorite characters within Demon Slayer. I've already done Tanjiro, who's my favorite, and Giyu, who is my second favorite. I'll put the playlist down below. So that means that Inosuke is my third favorite character. He's very close to being my fourth favorite. He actually was my fourth favorite for a little while, but then I recently kind of realized that I love that little gremlin just a little bit more than the person who's in number 4. So my number 4 is probably gonna be another big, crazy video. But before we dive in, just a normal disclaimer. I know when it comes to ships, people get very, very offended very easily. Please remember that everything that I'm about to say are just my opinions and it is not that deep. If you feel personally attacked by my opinions, I promise you that's not what I'm doing here. I am just yapping. And also, I keep forgetting to actually verbally say this, but in order for me to discuss ships within Demon Slayer, I do have to discuss manga spoilers through the end of the story. So if you have not read the manga all the way to the end and you do not want to be spoiled, then put a pin in this video and check back once you've seen the whole story. All right, but you know the drill. Before we dive in, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. And I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. Let's get into it. Okay, and as you can see, I've made some adjustments. So I've gone back to the way I did the Tanjiro tier list, which is just S, A, B, C, and U. I don't have OTP for this one because I don't have any ships within Inosuke where I feel that way, and I decided to go this route because this one can stay uniform as I work through the rest of the characters. Also, you might notice there's way less here. That is because I actually did have to create this one. So if you've watched the first 2 videos before this, we have already established I don't like shipping minor X adult, I don't like shipping character X demon, I don't like shipping siblings. So for the most part, those are not in this one. I've included a couple just because I've seen them pretty consistently across the board. So I do still have room to put you, but for the most part, I kind of kept it to ships that I actually feel like I can talk about without getting the ick. So by all means, this video might be faster, and also it might mean that starting soon, I'll be able to start including more than one character per video. Otherwise, this is literally gonna take over a year to get through. So we'll see, but those are just some adjustments, I guess you could say. But we're starting off with a pretty good one. We have Inoske and Nezuko. Let's put it in A. No, B. I dropped it down to B just because I feel like the only reason why some people would like this ship is, again, kind of how I was saying with Tanjiro and Makomo, is that she's a girl, he's a guy, they're in the same age range, therefore they are shippable to a lot of people. So I personally, they give me some of the most sibling-coded interactions in the entire show, outside of Nezuko with her actual brother, right? I'm only putting it in B because they scream siblings to me. I don't want to put it lower than that because that's just my own opinion. That's not something that I'm going to take to my grave and be like, no, they're siblings. Like, if people want to ship this, free for all, do it. Whatever floats your boat, right? But I think that in this case, especially with this picture, it's so sibling vibes, and then you add on to it in that like one chapter that came out a year after the end, that was the status report. Even Tanjiro mentioned that they were like mother and child. Like Inosuke was following her around, and it was a very sweet bond. They seemed to really like each other, but it seemed very platonic. So that's why I'm putting it in B and not A, just because I feel it's more of just a people ship it because why not? When to me, their vibes are not romantic at all. Inoske and Muichiro. Do they interact ever? Do we see? I mean, I know they do, and I'm not saying that that's a requirement to be shipped. I always like to start with if there's anything in the show that makes me inclined to ship it. I feel like we never, do we? I don't think so. I can see it, I think they would more I think they would bond more over their love for Tanjiro because they are both like Tanjiro's like biggest fans. Both of them are spectacularly, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like they both have a very specific attachment to Tanjiro. That's the word I'm looking for. Attachment to Tanjiro. It's a little bit different, but also kind of the same, you know? Like, Tanjiro has this effect on a lot of people, but the way Muichiro and Inosuke react to the Tanjiro effect, to me, are very similar because they both kind of end up looking to Tanjiro as like this very special person that they don't necessarily do with all of the others. Would they bond over that? Maybe? I'm gonna put this one, I don't know where to put it. I'm like talking myself through where I want to put it because I don't know where to put it. I'm gonna put it in, I'm putting it in B2 because they still give me like, I don't know, vibes. I don't know. And again, as we've established, I do have a harder time shipping ships where one of them doesn't make it to the end, especially when they're children, because another problem I have when it comes to like non-canon ships that involve kids, it's hard for me to even remotely ever think of them like being romantic with each other because these are not only like 14, 15, 16-year-olds, but they are also child soldiers. Romance is the farthest thing from their minds at this point. So when one of them doesn't even make it through to the end and I can't be like, well, you know, they have all this time after the war, I have a harder time with it. So that's why I'm putting it in B. They feel less sibling coded to me because they don't really interact that much and I could see it, but I personally struggle with the idea of one half dying, especially because Muichiro dies while he's still very young. Okay, well this one is just Yu, because that one's Inosuke and Giyu. Giyu is the big brother of the Kamaboko squad. Of course, he definitely has a favorite, and that would be Tanjiro. But, okay, two little gremlins, Genya and Inosuke. Inosuke is such a hard character to ship. I should have put this disclaimer at the beginning. Inosuke as a character has a long way to go. Not only are these all child soldiers, but Inosuke was also raised by animals. So he's literally like learning how to be human for a majority of this show. That being said, not only is Inoske and Genya fall into that same realm of Inosuke and Muichiro, these two, their personalities clash far too much. We know Genya deep down is not angry. You know, he's not the super loud, yelly, shine type guy that he lets on at the beginning, but being around Inosuke brings that out because he is a Shinazagawa at the end of the day. He is his older brother's little brother, and those are still some like natural inclinations for him. So I think like Inosuke genuinely brings out the worst in Genya. So I can't see them romantically involved at all. That's going in C. I don't even think they get along that well. Like one thing, the only time we really see them interacting with each other in the show is like this picture is where they're like fist fighting and Tanjiro has to sit on Inosuke to get that to stop, which is so funny, but it's just not my vibe. I don't see it at all. Like no matter what way I fit it into a box, I cannot see them being like romantically involved whatsoever. Okay, with that, this is Inoske and Aoi. So I have a lot to say about this one. I cannot stand the people that are like, it's dumb, it's an asshole, it doesn't make any sense. Just because something doesn't have that much explanation does not mean it doesn't make sense. When I heard that this was canon, my first thought was, huh. And then my second thought was, wait a minute, that's actually cute. Was it kind of a, we just put Inosuke with one of the girls who lived? I think so. But it doesn't have to be something that like we see throughout the show to make sense. It's not a forced ship because it's just like a, oh, hey, by the way, Inosuke ended up with Aoi after the end and they ended up getting married and having kids. There are little moments too, like Inosuke with food, right? Inosuke is always eating and you know, she kind of works her way into his heart by cooking a lot for him. And there's a couple moments throughout the show where we kind of see him be like, or we see her kind of be like, sure, I'll give you seconds. Like, there's little tiny moments. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it made perfect sense or that it should have ended that way. I kind of, I was surprised that Inosuke ended up with anyone. I think it would have made the most sense for him to end up kind of being the fun uncle for the rest of his life, because I think that he really, really loves the Kamaboko squad a lot, but it's all very platonic for him because Inosuke just, to me, with his upbringing, the idea of him being romantically involved is still a little off to me. That being said, we don't see him grow up, and that's where I'm okay with it. The idea of him growing up and maturing and learning, he's, I'm sure, learning how to read and write because he didn't know how to do that, because he now doesn't have to fight so much and he's already matured in the past year that we've known him. I think that means that there is that potential. My own personal headcanon is that they were the last to end up together of like the main squad, you know. So like all the canon ships of Tanjiro and Kanao, Zenitsu and Nezuko, and then we have Inoske and Aoi. I think they would have been the last to end up together by a lot because there was just a lot of learning to do. But I like the idea of Aoi being the one there to help him through that. So is it a little bit out of nowhere? Yes. But when I heard it, did I think, oh, that's actually pretty cute? Also yes. And I don't think it's forced. I think it's just, okay, sure, why not? I think it gets a lot of unnecessary hate, honestly, in a show where romance is just not really a part of it. Like, there's only a few canon ships, and most of them are in backstories. So, like, it doesn't need all of that. Most of the ships are kind of out of nowhere. You know, I don't really like that argument. Inoske and Kanao. I think this might actually be my second favorite Kanao ship. Let's put it in an A. Again, and it's really hard, I'm gonna sound very repetitive because Inosuke, I do struggle with the idea of him being romantically involved with anyone, which is why Aoi makes the most sense because I know that they get older and that he learns and grows. Same with Kanao. My only issue is that I prefer Kanao with Tanjiro. So that's really the only reason why it's an A and not S. I think this would be cute. I think they bonded a lot. I think they do have more development with each other than Aoi and Inosuke do, because Inosuke and Kanao fight Doma together and they learned a lot from each other and they saw each other at their literal most vulnerable, which I really love. So that's why it's an A. I still feel like it's a bit more sibling, especially when you consider that Kanao ends up with Tanjiro and Inosuke and Tanjiro. I can't say too much because that ship's about to pop up, but that being said, I do really enjoy this one. So we'll put it in A. Only reason it's not an S is simply because I just prefer Kanao with Tanjiro. That's just my own personal preference. Inosuke and Daki, I literally had to like look up Inosuke ships and this was there, and then when I tried to find a picture of it, this was the best I could do, which is him holding her head as Gyutaro stabs him, so that's fun. Tanjiro and Inosuke. Now, I've already talked about Tanjiro and Inosuke. I did in the Tanjiro ships video. I believe I put it in A in that one, so I'm gonna do the same here. This is it my third favorite? I would say it's I mean, it makes sense. It's my third favorite Inosuke ship, and it's honestly probably my third favorite Tanjiro ship. I think this one makes the most sense of like the main trio, in my opinion. My only real issue with it is Inosuke very specifically latches on to Tanjiro in a way where it's like he learns a lot from him, and Tanjiro kind of fills a teacher role with him a lot. So I think it's just a little bit more sibling-like. It's a little bit more sibling-coded to me, kind of like Nezuko and Inosuke. But I can see it a little bit more. They're very well developed. They have a lot of love for each other as it is. So I think it's cute. I don't mind that people ship it. I think I've actually read fan fiction about this one too. So yeah, it's cool. Okay, Zenitsu and Inosuke. I might have a hot take on this. Okay. this is kind of, I'm half joking when I say this, but I always get the vibes that Inosuke and Zenitsu don't actually get along that well. They wouldn't get along at all if it weren't for Tanjiro. Like, that's... When I think of the trio, I love the main trio of Demon Slayer so much, but Tanjiro is literally the glue that holds them together, because I think Inosuke and Zenitsu are so opposite. They just butt heads more than we see them actually get along. And I love that for them. It's adorable, but for that sake, I'm putting it in B. Because it's like, I don't know. Zenitsu is always scared and running away. Inosuke is always too brave and running headfirst too much, and he has to learn to be in the middle. And like most of the time when we see them, they are butting heads, almost literally, you know, when you think about their first interaction. But I just think they obviously get along well enough to live under the same roof together after the war and everything, and it's all well and good. I just think that personally they wouldn't be friends if it weren't for Tanjiro. That's just kind of my own opinion of it. So I'm putting it in B because, again, I can see it. And I understand why people ship it. There's a lot of development there. There's a lot of interaction there. They get a lot of screen time together. They're part of the like super main cast, right? But at the same time, I'm like, man, they really kind of don't get along a lot. So, like, Tanjiro is constantly keeping them like from going at it with each other. Anyway, and then our last one is Shinobu and Inosuke. Obviously that goes in ew. That is his like mother figure. Like, she is the person that he actually started to feel, I think, like a child's love for their mother would. So there's my ship list. This one, I don't know if it's controversial or not. My biggest issue is I love Inosuke as a character a lot. Obviously, that's why he's my third favorite, and I love him dearly. I love him. He's my little chaos gremlin. His development is some of my favorite development in the entire story. Some of his emotional moments that we're gonna see in these next two movies are the most emotional I get watching. Well, I get reading the manga, and probably will be even more emotional when watching. I'm just very neutral on romantic relationships with Inosuke. I don't have like super intense feelings for most of his pairings. I don't even really have super intense feelings for Inoske and Aoi, even though I put it in S. I just think it gets unnecessary hate because yes, it did come out of nowhere, but it wasn't forced. It was just like oh, I guess that makes sense. Okay, cool, you know? I think I would love to see more canon content about them post the war. That's never gonna happen though, unfortunately, so I just have to deal with my fan fiction. But that's my list for Inosuke. Anyway. So that is gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next one. Mata ne!